four-time All-Star celebrating. The Dallas Mavericks had a 1.8% chance to win.
And that means that the number one pick in the 2025 NBA draft goes to the Dallas Mavericks.
Rolando Blackman, all smiles, four-time All-Star celebrating. The Dallas Mavericks had a 1.8% chance to win the number one pick overall in next month's draft.
And that means that the number
There it was.
Does it feel?
And that means that the number one pick in the 2025 NBA draft goes to.
Hold it up for us. Let's see.
This is the baby right here. You know, sealed, opened. There it was.
Does it feel real?
This feels real, but the experience, there's nothing about it that felt real. It really, it's a crazy thing to sit through.
How much sleep did you get last night?
Not very much, but that was all for good reasons. Had to watch another NBA game after we got all our media stuff done last night.
Sure.
And, had a little adrenaline going, a few text messages to respond to. Fun night.
Hold it up for us.
There is literally no way this just happened.
You mean to tell me that Nico Harrison trades away Luca Doncic and then is rewarded by winning the number one overall pick in the NBA lottery draft a couple months later, where he now gets to take Cooper Flagg unless he has other ideas? He had a 1.8% chance of doing so. As if 2025 for the Mavs has not been insane enough. Here we are.
Oh man, it's like I really don't have to say nothing now. It's like I see everybody arguing, and now when people finally catch up to the reality of my points that I've been making for a very long time, the NBA proves once again it is a business, not a sport. And once you guys realize and accept that, then you understand they're doing things that are good for business. They don't care now about what you think about it. Spending all the efforts of trying to hide it from you. Why? Who cares? You guys are sheep. So that's how they look at it now. You guys are just sheep. Why would they care about what you think? Y'all gonna rant about it on social media for a couple of days, and then you move on. So they're like, why are we spending all this time trying to hide it? And for the league, that's a very good question. Why are y'all still trying to hide it? Stop hiding it. It doesn't need to be hid. Everybody knows. Everybody who know or already know knows. Let it live. Because see, the main problem is you keep trying to pretend like this is real. It's not real. And what other people are still holding on and fighting for, they need to let go. They need to understand something. Okay? They need to understand a few things. And it moves like this. You first need to understand that life don't move on the trajectory that you have perceived for yourself. No, no, no. It does not. No, life don't move on that trajectory that you have perceived for yourself. Not at all. Life don't move like that, buddy. Now, let's stick to what's going on here. Don't forget to hit that like button. And you see that crawl at the bottom that says donate to the Cash App. Don't forget to do that, sir. And let's get to the business at hand. Listen. Mm-hmm. But let's be honest with each other. Let's move in a trajectory where it makes sense. That understandable for everybody? Let's do that. Let's tell it the way it's supposed to be told. Because I feel like there's a lot of people that are not being completely honest here. And I feel like that's a major problem in the scenarios that we've seen that have come into development, right? The NBA, as far as this draft, and I've never really spoke on it, but except for in the past, that because I thought everybody knows that this thing is corrupt. And you have LeBron, Ramon James coming out telling everybody how corrupt the draft is, right? After I've been saying it for years. I mean, we go back to the Patrick Ewing, the first draft that they had, where they had it like everybody had to grab the envelope like the Oscars, and the bent envelope for New York, and New York gets Patrick Ewing, who played in Georgetown. You know, we all know how that goes. Now, once that happened, people knew then that the draft was tampered, you know, and they pretty much select who's going and what, because they can't afford to have that. Because in that case, all your star players will go to your small market teams, and your small market teams are going to jump up tremendously because of the talent level. They don't want that. They don't mind them getting competitive. Might have one star player, but no, they don't want that. So NBA, why don't you just eliminate the draft altogether? Just tell the people who you've picked to select where, because this is exactly what it is. Stop lying. Just go full out. Go like full WWE. WWE got tired of kayfabe or fake or whatever, and they said, why are we gonna kayfabe this whole thing and spend time not, sticking to the whole thing and not saying anything and deny to prove it's real, and go through all these efforts of hiding what we actually do, keeping people quiet, all of these things, right? That's been going on for many of years, traditionally, protecting the art of what they do. And it was a cool thing about it, that they were all into the entertainment of the fans. So now they just let it all go, because nobody cares about anything anymore. And that has desensitized our entire way of living through social media, getting information fast, that we just don't care about anything anymore. Morals is gone, everything. So the bad part of it is what's affecting everything now. So what do you normally see in a situation that is not consistent with all the foundations and the things that you put in place? What you find not consistent are the constant lies, misdirections, and things that were told in due time. Who all can remember when Zion Williamson went in the first pick to New Orleans? You see that? Look at them. They're all like in a room. They got a camera set up for the draft. Let's see. Camera set up here. If they didn't know they were getting the number one pick. Half of that staff has been fired, if not all of them. But they got the number 1 pick in the draft. Now, what was very interesting that happened in that draft? I mean, before. Well, you had a player that wanted to be traded before the end of the year and said, this is it. That's all, folks. He's gone and he's ready to leave and all of this stuff, right? A player who by the name of Anthony Davis. So AD and LeBron, right? They trade Anthony Davis to LeBron. That's what they wanted. But Dale Demps didn't like what they did and decided to alter not only the plan of everybody else in the world, as I keep telling y'all keep blaming the wrong guy for the trade of Luca Doncic. But we're going to get to that. Let's stay here. Because, see, this is what you need to see. This is what you need to know. Anthony Davis, AD, was brought in off a lie. They brought him in off this lie that they tried to trade the whole team to New Orleans. They figured it out. New Orleans released all of the information from the trade. Magic Johnson was supposedly involved in the trade. He was just the face of it. Didn't know that they were going to out everything. They didn't get AD that year. LeBron gets hurt or whatever, and they lose. Right? They don't even make the playoffs, I think. Now the season's over. Going in the next season, he gets Anthony Davis. Right? And here it is. The Lakers are back. They got Anthony Davis. So New Orleans, who lose Anthony Davis due to all of this nonsense, all because they want to build up the Los Angeles Lakers. So they reward the New Orleans Pelicans with the number 1 pick in the draft and the number 1 star coming into the league, Zion Williamson. So Zion Williamson goes to New Orleans. So they're all like, okay, we don't care about Anthony Davis no more. We got Zion coming in, and they're loving it. Zion loves it here. So all of this was about Zion Williamson, right? He was their star. It all took care of him. But why would the NBA be so invested and so involved? Because this is a business move. It's business. So they were rewarded with the number 1 pick in the draft for getting rid of Anthony Davis the way they did, even though he became a free agent and left anyway. Right? So they said. They just did the trade in the offseason. He didn't leave as a free agent. Sorry. Thank you, sir. But no, there was a trade. And once the trade was done, AD became LeBron James' best bud. He's my best buddy. He got my back, I got his back. It led to nothing. It led to absolutely nothing. When there was a pandemic went down, and then there was a bubble championship. Then from that, it was failure of LeBron getting hurt, him getting hurt. So in full NBA seasons, they were done. Right. Laker fans have constantly complained to LeBron James that bubble championship didn't count. But that's not what this is about. This is about the draft. Well, let's cover the draft.
You know, during the lottery drop, Cleveland got the number 1 pick. I just don't think that was. What a coincidence! Let's keep LeBron home. You know what? Patrick Ewing to the Knicks. You know, like, what are we talking about? So, like, Derrick Rose to the Bulls. Like, I understand the assignment, guys. So I had to make sure that I had to do my part. I didn't want to be a fuck up. No one gets.
So, as you can see, It's a conundrum of trying to fix what basically other people feel is broken. The trust has been broken. The communication lines have been broken. The NBA is broken. From the Patrick Ewing situation, everybody is hitting me at the same time. Now, when you start seeing other people make adjustments or they start making accusations and start pushing narratives into other pockets that don't usually make sense, you start to see that there is a growing trend of a distrust from the people and everyone else connected to the situations. You start to see that a lot of people are not in a position to even combat what's happening here in the NBA because their mind only takes it to one spot because they just don't want to believe. They don't want to believe that if that's rigged, that you think that's the only thing they're going to rig is the draft. No, it don't stop there. It's rigged all the way through the table. If they're controlling the draft, they're controlling who goes where. They're controlling all of it. That's what you don't want to accept. And now they figured it out how to control when the ball goes in the basket and when it doesn't. That's ball game. Game's over now. It'll never be the same again. And because of that fact, we're stuck in an alternate reality where mediocre players, but guys who wouldn't even be able to get on the court with the best players in the world, are now the face of the league, face of the team. And we are promoting, inferior basketball players and putting them on a world stage. And unfortunately, that's bad for basketball. And while everybody's looking up to this person, cheering them, the person that's not getting any cheers at all is like light years better than them, looking like these people crazy. If they only knew. And it started with this LeBron James, catering to him because it was good for business. Till now, you starting to believe what I've been telling you now. That it's no longer good for business. He's fighting with Stephen A. Smith. Is that good for business? You brought Luca Doncic here. Then you give Dallas the trade. I told you guys the league made this trade. Stop blaming people that have nothing to do with it. Okay? He had nothing to do with that trade. But he has to sit there and deal with the abuse from the Dallas Maverick fans and take it for the rest of the season. And Luca was mad at him and how they did this trade. This was a league call, Smokey. This is what they were working on. This is what they were fueling. This is what they wanted to inspire everyone to be like. And now you have this. Who's going to survive? That's what they need to ask themselves. Who's going to survive this? Who's going to be left standing when this is over? Mm-hmm. All right, we had to deal with the mockery of Bronny and LeBron. Why? Because it was good for business, not good for sports. And someone asked the question. It wasn't a stupid question. It's an actually good question. They said, Sino, if they can control the ball going in and out of the basket, why wouldn't they let Bronny hit all those shots? Why wouldn't they just make Bronny a superstar? Why wouldn't they let Bronny dominate? I said to that person, as I'm going to say to you guys now, if they would have let Bronny James come out scoring 30, 40, 50 points a game, putting up all these big numbers, knowing that this kid isn't ready, he's too green for that, and people would see right through it. See, the name of the game is try to pretend like this is real. Why do you think they have sports betting now on prop bets? Do you think they would have these prop bets out legally if they couldn't control the scoring? We're talking billions of dollars going away if they couldn't control that element. So are we really going to push that envelope? The world's changed, and people are changing with it. And if people don't get themselves together and get their mind right, this thing will roll their ass over. Roll their ass right over. This game is a business. They just signed a new deal going back to NBC and Peacock. They're taking over. They're handling all of the promotions for now. They hired Michael Jordan back. Why do you think they hired Michael Jordan back? They brought back MJ because this is a business. They know MJ brings in numbers. We got to go back to when we was buying the championships. All of the Jordan 6 rings are fake, fraudulent. I told you that. Y'all don't want to believe it because you said, oh, you just a Piston guy. I'm telling the truth. You guys have got to understand and wake up. Now, what I mean by fraudulent, let me explain it to you. Because this is going to shock y'all. This is going to be the most shocking video you probably have heard in a long time, even though I've said it before in the past. Some of you, it may be your first time hearing this. So pay attention. What I mean by fraudulent is I mean that Michael Jeffrey Jordan and the Chicago Bulls were selected. That this deal with NBC came about because of Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan on the Chicago Bulls, they bought the NBA for Michael Jordan. That's who they bought it for. Understand, it is a business, not a sport. Now, when I say fraudulent, I mean that the whole league was catered to the Chicago Bulls from the moment they came there. They made about 15 different rule changes the moment he came and they took over in 1991. The 1990-91 seasons, the Detroit Pistons were the back-to-back world champions, have been to the last 3 NBA finals, and have represented the East for 3 straight years. The Bulls have never been to an NBA finals until the NBC deal. Right away, they go straight to the NBA finals. Were they the best team in the East in 1991? No, they were not. Even with those rule changes, Detroit was pretty much the number 1 seed. Cleveland was high, and they were in a battle with Cleveland to see who was going to be the top team in that division. Isaiah Thomas goes down, and the whole team falls apart. Isaiah injured his shooting hand, and that was it. The Pistons had set a record for winning the most games that year. Like, they got off to the hottest start in franchise history under the new rules, meaning flagrant foul and everything else. Most of you don't understand, so I expect you to say something stupid like all the Pistons did was foul and hit people. That's all they did, because that's all they show you on clips, because you didn't watch basketball. You don't go to NBA finals back to back to back just because you beat people up. That's not how it happens. You actually have to be smart. You have to be disciplined. You have to play basketball. That's the only way it happens. So when you start seeing these narratives take front and center, the stage, then you can start saying, okay, I get it now. Now, in 1991, I'm not taking anything away from the way they played. The Bulls went there and they won. They beat the Pistons that year, even though we were better than what we showed. In game one, we really showed who we were, but the referees weren't going to let us into the series at all, especially in game three when they sent the message saying, no, it's done. We're moving on. And I've gone back and rewatched those games, so I know exactly what I'm talking about. They called like 5 fouls in a row just to let the Pistons know you're not getting back in this game. Like, it's over. So even when the Pistons went on runs, it would be considerably done, but they were done at that point. Isaiah came back to try to go for the three-peat when he should have been out for the rest of the season. And basically his career was over. And Michael and his team, the Bulls, they were the only really team that was still there. They reconstructed the Knicks and tried to build around Patrick Ewing. And they wanted to make them more like the Pistons. So if the Pistons was bad for basketball, then what were the Knicks? Great for basketball. They played the same type of style. They just weren't smart and as disciplined as us. But they were the only thing that the East had that could be competition. But at that point, the Bulls had figured it out, but everything was promoted to them. They were going to get all the favorable calls at home. They had it in the contract that the Bulls played every weekend. Even when they weren't the champions, the Bulls played every weekend on national television. Saturdays and Sundays, the Bulls will play. See, they were doing back-to-backs then. Playoff games were back-to-backs. When you played at home 2 games, you played back-to-back games. Then they made a change saying that we got to have a day of rest in between. See, a lot of rules was changed, man, in the NBA that really altered the way we think now about the game. And with not just rule changes, the Orlando Magic came into play, the Minnesota Timberwolves, they've had an expansion draft and added like 4 teams within 3 years. They expanded way too fast. So when you start expanding and adding more teams so quickly, because they saw the rapid growth with the Michael Jordan, the Pistons, the Lakers, they starting to see the growth, and right away they want to sign on new teams. We got to get this money. So you go to Orlando, we got Disney money coming in now. Right. And then we're going here with it. Right. So it's all of this stuff going on. All of this politics that's happening in front of your face. All of these directions. Adam Silver gets hired in 1992. They brings in Adam Silver Slipper in 1992, tell him the layout. This is the way it's going to be. The Chicago Bulls went on ahead to win these games but it was geared for them to win. They were pushed. Anybody who gave them any type of competition, they were ousted out. Michael Jordan was allowed to arm chop people and get away with fouling, just like LeBron gets away with stuff. But his was blatant. He wasn't the outstanding defender like everyone thinks. He's better than LeBron, but like without question. But he wasn't an all-time defensive stopper like that. Guys knew they could beat him and get to the position they wanted to. It's just that when about 93, 94, expansion draft had ruined a lot of these teams, and they try to keep their nucleus pieces and build around them with new players. All that's going to take time. The Bulls was one of the few teams that had their full nucleus, like their main five they've had for about 5 years in a row or longer. They got their nucleus. Like, this is us. The starting five is who we are. We got Pax, we got Jordan, we got Scotty, we got Cartwright. Cartwright's been there since 90. So this team has been there. They flourished together, and everybody else was changing players around, trying to rebuild, trying to get stronger. So the Bulls was like, okay, it's their time. Plus the NBC bought it for Michael Jordan, which was smart. It was good for business. Mike was going to do something you probably haven't never seen before in your life. I have Michael Jordan as the 5th greatest player to ever play the game, and everybody knows I wasn't a big fan of him. But what he was able to do on the court, it's recommended. He's at 5th. LeBron James is not even on a list. Like, you got to be kidding. He's in the 1,000 category, possibly like 1,800 around that time, or 1,180. I think he's at 1,178 right now, or no, 82. I got to go back and check, but he's somewhere in the thousands. You know what? I never would suspect that someone would put another individual on a pedestal that would be looked at as somebody that would be mirrored to Michael Jordan, who was nowhere near anything like Mike, like LeBron. Normally, the NBA would move on to what's hot, a player that's really doing something. Like, to compare any of these players to Michael Jordan is insulting. It really is. It's a really insult to the game. Kobe Bryant, comparing one to Kobe is insulting, especially when they don't have the foundation. Those players are far few and in between. Like Kyrie Irving, he has the foundations. These guys have the work ethic. They go after their games and they push the envelope. But it was good for business for the NBA as they grew more internationally due to the popularity of Michael Jordan. And once he played, they saw him on the Dream Team. They became rock stars. So after that, Jordan with the Bulls was everywhere. They put him on national television everywhere. So people internationally knew Michael Jordan and the Bulls. They're it. They're what's it. They're what's hot. So if everybody don't know that by now, then I don't know what to tell them, because this is it. I never wanted to be in a situation where I would sit there and be second guessing what's to come. I need to know what it is. Like, I just want to see basketball. And they took that from us. They took basketball from us. And now we're watching a show. Like, it's done. It's done. We'll never have basketball again. That hurts. What we got is exhibition. Mm-hmm. Well, I just believe in whatever you put out in the world, it comes back at you tenfold. And if you're not prepared, you'll be a victim of it. It's always to the Lakers. Pau Gasol was traded to the Los Angeles Lakers for Kwame Brown and a couple other players and the draft rights, because they had the draft rights. They had just drafted Mark Gasol. They just went ahead and traded him to Memphis, and Memphis wanted Mark Gasol and didn't want Pau Gasol, who was having a great individual career of his own. But Los Angeles Lakers, he'll be a star, right? Because the NBA needs the Lakers to win. This is where they put all their marketing into, their marketing dollars into Los Angeles. So the Houston Rockets gets the first pick in the NBA draft. Right. And when was the first pick in the NBA draft? And what year did Yao Ming come? Was that 2002? That was 2002. I think it was 2002. If I'm not mistaken, you can correct me, but I think Yao Ming was 2002. And when Yao Ming came in 2002 with the number one pick, they sent him to Houston. And Houston Rockets became the international dump site of the NBA because of the colors. They're more like China with the red. So having Yao Ming play for China and all the Chinese players playing for Houston, that was it. And once he became a star, Stephon Marbury, over in China and helping basically facilitate the communications with China and the United States internationally. And he said, "Oh, you've done great here." Adam Silver's like, "If you want to come back to the NBA, and play, you can play for the Rockets." Why would the general manager, well, not even general manager, the commissioner of the NBA tell a player who's not even in the NBA what team can take him, what team he can go back and play for? That conversation happened in China with Stephon Marbury and Adam Silver. And he said, "No, why would I want to go back to where they hate me over in America. Why would I want to go back to that? Why would I want to go back and play over there where they hate me? In 2016, Jaylen Brown came into existence. People forget that Jaylen Brown was there before Tatum got there. And the 2017 draft is the one that was stacked. But the Celtics had the third pick in 2016 and the third pick in 2017, where they took Jaylen Brown in 2016. Then they took Jason Tatum in 2017. So the NBA is getting ready to rebuild all over again and start this whole machine. Luca Doncic went to Dallas only when they traded with the Atlanta Hawks. Okay? Just because they did not want to pay that price. They drafted Luca third, Atlanta did, and traded him to Dallas, who wanted Luca but couldn't get him. So they said, hey, we'll get Trae Young, and then we'll just do the trade for Luca Doncic. Luca could have his high draft pick, but Dallas wasn't all the way up there to get him. So 2019, what you just saw them going off because they was getting Zion. Zion was the biggest thing coming out. Ja Morant went to the Grizzlies. Right? Nobody thought about Ja Morant. Ja Morant wasn't even in their plans. Turned out Ja was the bigger star and doing a lot more than Zion Williamson. Zion was already hurt, always hurt. So the agenda switched and they went off of Zion and went to Ja Morant. Then Anthony Edwards come with the number one pick the very next year in 2020's draft. But because of COVID and everything else, nobody really paid any attention to the draft and didn't really notice or care. But the Minnesota Timberwolves had the number one pick that year. Now, why did they get the number one pick in 2020? Why did the Minnesota Timberwolves get the number one pick? Do you want to know what happened in 2019? In 2019, let me tell you, Jimmy Butler was traded to the Philadelphia 76ers. They went to the Philadelphia 76ers, and he played with Joel Embiid for that half a year. They get all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals and became like one shot away from going to the NBA championship with Joel Embiid. And that was the last time he played in Philly. Jimmy Butler was gone. Right? Played that one season. I wouldn't even say a half a season. He played a whole season. It was right before training camp, whatever. Minnesota traded him. So he was gone. So to reward that trade, to get Jimmy Butler off of Minnesota and move him over there with Philly to help out with Joel Embiid, they rewarded him with Anthony Edwards, the number one pick in the draft. The NBA's been doing this for years. You just haven't paid any attention. Okay? It did their bidding. Wembanyama going to the Spurs. Spurs went nowhere near getting Wemby. But they were. And they did. So I done got myself tired doing this. Anyway, I'm gonna get up out of here. Love, peace, and hair grease. Deuces. Don't forget, follow Kwame Brown, Bus Life. Go to my Casino for Life Patreon, where we are keeping it real and we are giving everybody the blue by blue. I had a busy day. I got up, hitting the ground running. I'm washing clothes. I got to do everything around here. Hey, you want the big house, you got to do the big thing to take care of the big house. So I'm doing the Diddy trial. I'm exhausted, buddy. That was an 8-hour testimony today. Can you imagine when the defense get to him tomorrow? All right, it's finna go down. It's finna rock tomorrow. I'm out. Love, peace, and hair grease again, man. Welcome to HDII TV. Shouts out to him. Sports Talk with Jose Rodriguez. Follow those channels. And I'm tired.